are for the last couple of years with all the RCDs and whatever they call them. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
It's easier to have it on.
All right, well, welcome to new MIG mentor training. If you haven't had a chance to meet me yet, I know some of you. My name is Steve Thornton, and I have been in this position now. This is I think my 12th year that I'm starting as the director for induction. And prior to that, I was a teacher at Madera High School and then out in the Grand and Planada area. Before that, I was a youth pastor for 15 years. So, this is our conference room. Lights in, pretty. Looks like a guy's room, right? Because there's no decorations on the wall. Have you noticed that? You walk in, especially kindergarten, right? I mean, kablamo! Their rooms are just done up, and they've got letters in 3 different fonts all the way around, the whole 9 yards. Anyway, this is our conference room. Our office is next door. Jessica Salazar is my assistant, and she'll answer a lot of your questions. I gave you a piece of paper tonight with our contact information, and I wanted you to note the cell number on it. Frankly, that's the best way to get a hold of me. I'm not always here in the office. Frequently at meetings or whatever's going on. So email can sometimes sit in my inbox for 2, 3, 4 days. But if you send me a text, I'll answer you as quick. I'm pretty good at getting back to you. Or you can call me at office or the cell. But if you do text me, please tell me who you are and what program you're in. So I have, not only do I have induction, but I also have pre-credential teacher support. So that's our PIPs, TIPs, and interns. I have another program for veteran teachers that are struggling in the classroom called Peer Assistance and Review. Altogether, there's about 200 teachers on that side, and then all you mentors, there's another 150 of. You got to tell me who you are, because your name's not going to pop up in my contacts normally, and I won't know what program you're in. It really helps steer the question. So, email is on there, and we can be found in documents or more information about our program is being built on the Madera Unified website under Educational Resources, Beginning Teacher Support. So we have a web presence as well. Tell me who you are, what's your current teaching assignment, and how many, who you mentor. We'll start right here.
My name is Sean Hardcastle. I'm at Webster Elementary over in Golden Valley.
You're in like great demand right now, aren't you? We had like 6 teachers yesterday or Saturday for induction orientation.
Yeah. There's a, because we just opened that new elementary out there, that's Stone Creek.
So some of the vets went over there?
Yeah, so I'm helping out one of the new teachers that's over there.
You only one?
Yeah, just one.
You're going to get more than one.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And what grade do you teach right now?
I do 6th.
Oh, Lord, thank you.
Yeah.
They're not pre-adolescent, they're pre-human.
I love it, man. This is my 21st year, so.
You can tell we're at this table. We're middle school lovers too.
Yeah, 6th grade, and I'm an old person. I'm 56. I'm also an old soul. I have gender biases. I will just freely admit that. But there's nothing like 2 girls that are mad at each other in the 6th grade to bring drama into your classroom. Oh, Lord. So thank you for what you're doing. That's awesome. Oh, I almost threw it at you.
Well, this wasn't at me. I'm Brittany Neufeld. I teach at the Sherman Thomas STEM Academy, but I've been assigned Kent Taylor Walton. She is at the Sherman Thomas Charter High School.
There's a difference between the 2.
Yes, there is. There's 3 schools out there, and they're each run by their own LEA. So they're technically separate, all separate schools, but we have the same governing board.
Do you cross-pollinate and teach on their side and on your side?
Never.
All right, so you're only on the STEM side.
Yes, I'm at the
That's
STEM
important to
Academy.
understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Taylor, I've known for like ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, her parents used to share a fence post with me on the back side of my house.
Oh, yeah. And she told me her mom is also a mentor.
She is.
And she said that I should expect to meet her at some point. So.
She's really super nice. She'll like it.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to work with her. She seems very ambitious, so
Fantastic.
I'm ready for it.
And then, just to show you how small Madera is, there was a time before, my dad's 81 in October, but was one of the original school board members for years and years. He and Roger go way back to the beginning of Valley West. And, so, yeah.
Cool. Cool. It makes me think my grandma was on the school board too at some point. So
Very good, so I'm sure.
look at the history of it all.
Right?
Hi, I'm Shara Torak, and I work at the STEM Academy, and I also work at Sherman Thomas Charter High School, and the RSP teacher there. So I teach 6th through 12th grade.
So, when you see a tall freshman who doesn't look like she's having a good time, kick her in the rear. That's my stepdaughter, Emma Alvarez.
Okay, I've seen an Emma. I've heard that, I'm in and out of all the classrooms, but we have a total of between 75 and 80 kids usually, and so pretty much there's 6 teachers. We know every single kid at our school, which is really awesome.
Well, Emma's really, she's just kind of going through this sophomore, like, I don't want to be in school phase. And
Does she have dark hair?
Pardon me?
Dark hair?
Dark hair? What's that?
Does she have dark hair color?
Yes, curly hair.
And short?
No.
No.
And she's tall she's like maybe taller than me now.
And she's a freshman?
Sophomore.
Oh, she's a sophomore, okay. Yeah, and her hair's like down to here.
Yeah.
Real quiet?
Yes, probably.
Not
normally, yes.
At school with a whole bunch of kids she doesn't know yet.
After 40
goodness. Possibly. Yeah, so, and I'm mentoring, actually I don't know who I'm mentoring yet. We are in the process of hiring a history teacher, and that's who I will be mentoring, is our new history teacher when they get hired.
Monica, who are you?
Monica McFarlane. I teach art over at OK to 7th and 8th graders. And what else was I sharing? I don't know.
People now.
Right. I forgot one. I just got one.
So Anna, and the one you already assigned to.
Right. It's blank.
I have to look it up. No worries.
Yeah. New art teachers at elementary schools because we've added so many of those art teachers.
7 of them or something like that.
Yeah, lots of them. Just fun.
Crazy money we've got right now to be able to spend like this. I remember 2008 when we cut all of our electives and then into our class size went from 22 to 400 and right, we laid off a whole bunch of people. Scott, who are you?
I'm Scott Gandy. I teach here at Eastern Arcola, 8th grade. It's nice because I get 8th graders and about 28 of them, not 1,000 like you guys deal with. So it's a nice, little bit. It's enough for me. Let's see here. My Padawan learner is the 7th grade teacher here, which is Miss Oxley. And hey, if you want to give me anybody else, my wife wants to put a pool in, so I don't want to go into admin, so maybe we can talk later.
Brandon, right?
Matt.
Got it.
So close. Yes.
Not easy.
I'm Matt. I'm at Desmond, 8th grade ELA.
I thought he was a football player. I thought he was at Matt.
It's fine. Yeah, and so we have a number of new English teachers at Desmond. I'm not sure which one I'm getting yet, but
Probably 2.
Probably 2 now. Yeah. We have 2 for the 7th and 8th grade alone.
So we have, I don't know why, but this year hiring has exploded. And we have the biggest MIT program in Madera ever.
Wow.
It's closing it up. I got, just from Madera Unified today, 7 or 8 new hires just today. I think we're over 150. So that's like, it's like shot way past our, I think we had 135 at one point in 2011 or something like that. But it's the biggest ever, and consequently, it's chaos. So we're behind even on matching our mentors because we're trying to scramble and figure this all out and try to figure out who's the new teachers and putting this all together. So, away we go. All right. So let you know that Madera Induction is a county program, so you're hearing from Golden Valley. We cover every school district in the county, including charter, including private. We've had Crossroads. I have a new teacher this year from Raymond Knowles, Yosemite, the whole 9 yards. We've had over 1,000 credentials that we've recommended, over 650 mentors, but you and our induction candidates are the center of what we're doing. Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to make them go through this program? And so there's a really good reason. Did y'all go through BITSA?
Yeah.
I just did
Sped
it here.
teacher, even as a sped teacher, you went through it?
Well, no, so I just added a sped credential to my gen ed credential, so I've had a gen ed credential for like 15 years.
Okay, so you
So,
didn't have to do
I'm-
it yourself?
I'm older, yeah, so I did BITSA. No, I did BITSA 15 years ago.
For your gen ed, okay.
For my gen ed, yeah.
So 15 years ago, that's great, because we would have talked about that and you would have went, BITSA.
Yeah,
And somebody told you, hey, it's just like BITSA, and you went, I don't think I want to do that.
yeah.
And then if you went with it recently, you know what, BITSA was not so bad, and we're going to explain the big difference. But prior to 2000, which would have been a little bit before you got your credential, 50% of our teachers were leaving the profession in the first 5 years. So imagine what teachers are spending on getting their credential right now. It's in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $30,000 just for the credential. Plus they have to either be an intern or a student teach, and they have to pass a bunch of tests. If they're elementary or sped, they're passing RECA, they have TPAs, they have it's a lot to get to where they're at. And then to get to December and think, you know what, I don't like teaching, I'm out, right? And I remember getting the keys in August, and I didn't see my administrator again until December. That's the way it was back in the day, is you were on your own. And I was in a position where I was supporting my family with the money I was making, and it was a second career choice, so I didn't have I was going to make it, and there was no failure option, right? So we want to help make a transition for our teachers into the profession. And for whatever reason, prior to this year, the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a lot of teachers coming to us that were previously a PIP, a STEP, or an intern. They came to us with experience. And they came to us older, in their late 20s and early 30s. This year, radically back to the way it used to be. We are seeing a ton of 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds, who not only are they in their first career, they're in their first full-time job. Think about that for a moment. They're bouncing into they're living on their own for the first time in an apartment or whatever. And if you haven't figured it out, it's a scary world out there with prices going through the roof, right? If you looked at rents lately, they're around the valley now for an apartment is $2,000 a month.
If you can find one.
Yeah.
Right? Houses have doubled in value in the last 5 years. And so there's a lot of panic going on. A lot of things are happening. We want you to help them provide that transition. Okay? And so we're going to tell you that at times you're going to take all the mixed stuff and just put it in the cupboard, and you're just going to talk about life. And so you're going to have I always tell my mentors that you're an emotional nurse, and they're going to emotionally vomit, and you're going to put it in a bag and throw it away and clean it up and move on. There's a lot to learn. We had somebody come to us from Lancaster. Oh, what if I get a flat tire? Where do I go get it fixed? Where's a good place to eat lunch? What's a good bank to use, right? All kinds of things coming up. In addition to, my boyfriend just left me, my dog died, I've been diagnosed with cancer. All of these things have happened to induction candidates, and you're going to be there to help them with that transition. How we help them. We also want to improve student achievement. So we're going to do a lot of focusing on student work and analyzing that work. And I will tell you 100 times you're going to hear me say, it's teacher growth through the lens of student outcomes. So we actually asked the kids, I guess I'm old enough I can say that now, right? We actually ask our new teachers, what are you getting paid to do? Well, I'm getting paid to teach. Well, how do you know you're doing it? Well, we have assessments. Oh. you're getting paid to produce results that show up on those assessments. So we're going to look at your growth through that same lens. Okay? It is a credentialing program, and the teachers that are coming to us, either they're SPED or Gen Ed, are getting a clear credential. We have to demonstrate to the world that they're competent, and the way we do that is showing growth over time. So our whole focus is on helping a teacher identify where they're at today, kind of like that before and after picture. We step on the scale, oh my gosh, and then we look at what we need to do and how do we get to our end goal, and what are we going to, how are we going to measure that in the end. So we have a before and we have all kinds of tools to help teachers grow in their profession. So we talked about somebody that went to BITSA in the early 2000s and went, and somebody that just finished it went, oh. And the reason is, grant-funded program of BITSA disappeared under Jerry Brown. So BITSA's gone. But embedded in the ed code is induction. A job-embedded induction is the only pathway to a clear credential. And they gave us new standards, so we took the opportunity to write a new program. We got rid of the word BITSA and said Madeira Induction Consortium. Now, the BITSA was always induction, a work-embedded program to get you cleared. Madeira, that seems obvious. Consortium means y'all. That's Chachilla for everybody. Madeira Induction Consortium. And to my Irish friends, I'm sorry if that offends you, but we call this program the MIC program.
I'm a McFarland, I understand.
I did a background, one of those ancestry, whatever. So I'm a little bit of Scottish, mostly Irish and English, and found out that I also have German in my background. But when people ask me what my nationality is, I say, oh, I'm redneck. My family tree literally starts in West Virginia, which was Virginia at the time, then travels to North and South Carolina to Missouri, and then to California. Oh, and Oklahoma, with a stop in Oklahoma. Can I be more redneck? All right. We would used to say that we would mentor through the documents. And so you remember back in 2000s, all the papers you had to put.
Oh my God.
You had a big binder, you're putting them in there, right?
Well,
a lot of meetings.
Maybe
Whether you
some
need it
people
or not.
probably did that. The mentor I have met with me twice, and like we did everything all at one time. So it wasn't a good experience, I'll tell you that. Everything was done all at one time, and it wasn't a good experience. It was not helpful at all in the least.
Well, now you had a really bad. Yeah, that's like two strikes. First, it was done with the best of intentions, with what they knew, but it evolved over time. So now we would say that we are documenting the mentor. The focus of what you're going to be doing is having conversations with your induction candidates. Okay. So we actually believe that compared to where we were, we have 75% less documents. There's not a lot of paperwork for our candidates to fill out. There is some, but not a lot. Much more freedom to focus on that growth, and we're going to start with where they're at. So we don't treat every teacher like they're 23 and right out of college. We're going to treat them with where their history and experience lands them right now, and that's where we're going to start and move forward. We even changed the names. It used to be that they were participating teachers, and now we call them induction candidates. And you used to be called support providers, and now we call you mentor teachers. It's a better description of what you're doing. Okay? All right. The standards say that our teachers must write a plan for improvement in the first 6 weeks of their job started. All right. First 6 weeks, so if you'll get out what we call the ILP directions. All of what I'm giving you tonight are samples. I'm going to give you an access code to Google Classroom, and we'll find all that stuff there. But I want to tell you that they have to write 2 goals in the first 6 weeks of being here. Okay? So now let's think about it for a moment. You just finished your preliminary credential. We went through a year of Zoom where we haven't had to really manage students, where we've looked at blank screens because we had a policy of you don't have to turn your cameras on if you don't want to. Yeah.
Not us.
Don't tell these guys back here because they
Well,
were
you guys
ready.
got to see faces last year?
It was required.
Every day, every single one of them.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Wow. So you would actually launch kids and like turned them off.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Oh no, they were kicked out and parents were called if they turned them off and then they came right back on and we're on.
Okay. So we developed some ways of a teacher to kind of measure where they're at right now so they could write these goals. The first one is called the individual development plan they did with their preliminary program. Their preliminary program is required to produce this document, but that doesn't always mean that they have it. Okay? It also has different names. Okay? So we call it the individual development plan because that's what the standards call it. But CalTeach, which is actually a Fresno State program, calls it a bridging document. Okay? I'm just giving you samples so you know what they look like. If a new SPED teacher went to Tulare County Office of Ed, individual development plan. I printed these off from last year. Tried to redact their names. I hope I did a good job. Fresno Pacific calls it the individual development plan. And I wanted to include the one from National, but there were 12 pages, so I chose not to.
I've heard about those.
Okay, here's the assignment. They're supposed to bring this to you and have a discussion. That's the assignment. And then they take it and upload it into the Google Classroom. It kind of reflects back to the spring where they were at in their teaching profession, what they thought they were good at. This will line up with the teacher performance expectations in the preliminary program, but also line up with the California standards for the teaching profession, which we are going to use. Don't you love all these acronyms? The CSTPs are probably the same standards that are being used in your evaluation. I know for sure that's true, almost word for word. All right, so the first thing they're going to do is discuss with you the individual development plan. If they have prior experience, have them bring their evaluation. If by chance they're transferring from another program and this is year 2, then talk about what they did in year 1. The last thing that they're going to do is the continuum of teaching practice. And that assignment takes them, and I don't think I gave you a sample on that, maybe I gave you the directions, it's a rubric that they're going to highlight and date and provide some evidence for. And it takes them about 2 hours to complete. Is that about right? 2 hours?
Well, you get what you put into it, honestly. So.
Yeah. That will really point the needle to the standards that they identify as wanting to write to.
That's not all my stuff.
Then I'm going to bring you back here with your induction candidates for what we call ILP and journal writing. And we are going to write that goal together that night. This is the individual learning plan that we developed for MIG. And this is the box that we're discussing and we want to do together that night at ILP and journal writing training. And this one is the one that's going to contain the growth words. And it's all, the millennial kids, they're all like, oh yay, selfie. It's all about them. I will develop my ability. I will improve. I will deepen. I will expand. I went to the Google Word and found 8 synonyms for the word improvement. Okay?
So we need to pick one of these dates to come with them?
Correct. Okay? And on your calendar, there's like 6 dates. I need you to come to one of them with your candidates. So you're both doing the same thing at the same time. And because we're going to write that goal together that night, and we're going to peer edit and look at the rubric, and then talk about some other things on top of that. Okay? But all we have to worry about in the first 6 weeks is the goal. That's all we're going to work on. So we're doing the bridging or transition or the individual development plan. Maybe we have an evaluation, the self-assessment using the continuum, and discussions about those things leading up to ILP and journal writing. I'm only asking.
They're going to bring this to us?
We're going to do this together.
So this one will be at that date then?
Right.
So then the one that they're going to bring to us is which one?
Is the continuum that is that one.
This guy?
Yeah. And it's pretty big, and it takes them about 2 hours.
They have to bring that to that meeting?
They need to bring it to you to discuss. It'll probably be on their laptop, right? And they can share it with you on their laptop if they want to. But everything we do is actually going to be digital. You're getting all these papers, which is kind of unusual, as samples. But we're going to work through Google Classroom.
The continuum of teaching practice, that's something they've already done, yes?
They should be doing on their own. They probably haven't done it yet, but they're gonna.
Gotcha. But that wasn't from their credential program, right?
No.
Gotcha, okay.
Correct.
And then, so
Brand new assignment.
is there going to be kind of like step 1, step 2, step 3, like a whole breakdown of like, we need to make sure that this is done number 1 and this is done number 2 and
That would be a good idea to give you the scope and sequence.
yeah.
I have one and I didn't copy it for you tonight, but let me. I might have some.
So we come with all of our minutes. If we have one lunch and we have the, we try to go to 2 different meetings so we can focus on
Your
one.
intern doesn't need that.
I don't think so.
Then your other one would come to this?
Oh, the intern doesn't, I get my lunch.
Yeah. I don't have that one. Let me,
So, we're gonna do it like, have your sports practice, Monday, Thursday.
That sounds great.
Probably get some hours in the morning because do a lunch something that's really not so good. Sugar. So they better do that. Bring it fried, yeah. Let's accept the fact that we're gonna be there, so it's a good morning.
Yeah. That's the, yeah, that's the product, yeah. I'm real lucky for myself, I'm not showing up an hour before school, so, yeah. So Sounds good on paper, just like get up and lift some weights in the house.
That'd be nice. Purposeful.
Yeah, sounds good, sounds good.
I did the morning routine, you know.
Yeah,
Favorite morning.
that's right. Just hit that snooze button maybe tomorrow.
You're later.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. That's right. 365, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I just don't have to think about it. That's helpful.
All right, let me go get this real quick.
Yeah, I think so. Cool. Well, they're already asking me.
Compensated for my excellence. For lack thereof.
Yeah, see, that's how I actually had a really
The whole thing. You know how you go through that whole thing?
I'm sure it's so I can check on so many things. Like, okay.
Well, my dude was cool. He's like, all right. You got it, yes. Basically, make sure you turn your stuff on time. Remind me, you know, and you get over it, like, don't.
And then they're like, get
Okay, cool.
I did, I told her, I was like, you're out here.
That's the life right there.
That was December. I was not doing
Bunch of job. Yeah, exactly.
I really don't know what class.
Right, cool.
Like, I was like, oh, it's like so cool. Like, no, it's not.
Sure.
And then I was like,
Thank you. You're welcome.
thank you for introducing me. Sorry. Thank you. I'm not sure about that. You'll have to convince me of that one. Yeah.
After that meeting, when the goal has been written, and you've written two, it's your job to set up a meeting with their administrator and have a meeting with you, your induction candidate, and your administrator. It's about 20 minutes. We're calling it the MIC Triad meeting. And you're going to go over the goals. And the administrators are being instructed that they cannot use this for evaluation. Okay? Which is kind of hard, but we made the decision after looking at a lot of other programs around the state and seeing how they were handling this particular requirement in the standards, and they're by and large all following this model of having a triad meeting. And what we're finding is that the administrator is aware now of how the induction candidate wants to grow as a teacher and knows how to support them. So they might think, oh, well, you really need to get into Brian's classroom and watch because he does what you're asking about very well. Okay? Or, hey, I've got a PD scheduled in December. I want to make sure that you're in the front seat. Or, hey, I've got a great article or a great book or a great video on this topic I think you would enjoy looking at. So what we find is that once admin comes on board with it, they're very supportive of their new teachers and trying to help them get better in their teaching profession. Because if their teachers are improving, it makes them look good, right? But they also get a chance to say, don't forget that we have a math initiative this year. Is there any way that you could incorporate that into your goals? Or, hey, remember we talked about this particular area last year as an area that we would like to see you get better at. Do you think maybe we could put that in your goal? So that's the kind of thing that can happen in those meetings. But our anecdotal data from last year has been very positive. All three people are enjoying the triad meeting. And I will remind you again after we come to ILP journal writing. So today's just an introductory. I don't expect you to master everything today, but we'll bring it back. And you'll hear this again.
So then when we go to the ILP training, and then the teacher that we're supporting, then we'll write those two goals.
Right.
And then those 2 goals, then we're gonna go and sit and talk with the administrator.
Correct.
Okay.
I told you that 6-week triad pathway. I'm going to tell you about the pathway right now. So if we go back to this box, in October, so now we're down the road a bit, your teachers are going to be filling out the pathway and the outcome. In your directions, with the mask on, I feel like I have a bifocal situation. Those are the growth words on page 3, 5. Page 4 is the rubric. Page 6 is the development, professional development and research menu. Okay? So, and I will tell you that I believe in keeping this really simple. I do not want English teachers to compound complex sentence right here. Something just really simple. I will improve my ability to manage a classroom. I will improve my classroom management strategy. I will deepen and expand my classroom management, right? Just real simple. One sentence, multiple pathways. So we're going to tell you that we define multiple as more than 2. So if we'd have met a couple, right, we'd have said 2, a few, at least 3 or more. One of the pathways is a requirement. Actually, there are 2. You're going to observe your teacher 2 times both semesters for a total of 4 times. And there is a way to get a sub. For Webster and Sherman Thomas, this is a requirement, so they have to provide a sub for you. For you, we have a sub request form and use funds already to cover for you to go and do the observation. Okay? You're going to be doing the observation. I'm going to bring you back for observation training, solely focused on their goal. That's what you're looking at. Okay? So they want to tighten their routines and make sure that their students are following the routines so that there's less classroom management issues going on. So that's all you're going to be looking at. How are they doing with routines? Or are they going to put their kids into Kagan groups strategically based on data? How's that working? How do you see the interaction? Do they have roles to play, right? You're going to be looking at just what you've been discussing as it relates to their goals. They're going to list multiple pathways. Pathways are also, could be called professional development, could be called research, action research, COI. Not sure what that is. Huh. That looks like a Cocoa Puff. Did you guys eat Cocoa Puffs?
No.
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of candy in here earlier. I don't know about Cocoa Puffs though. That's interesting.
That's a Cocoa Puff. I'm glad I picked it up the other side.
Not something else.
Smushing it into the carpet. So there's a menu, and they're going to put multiple, so one goal, multiple pathways. And I'll going to tell you all this again when we come back for ILP and journal writing training. And then they're going to write one outcome. Now remember I told you, teacher growth through the lens of student outcomes. And so in this box, they're going to write an outcome that's based on student achievement. And what we want them to do is do a pre-assessment now, and either a summative assessment in March or a series of summative assessments leading up to March. Okay? So if we're looking at DRWPs as a way of measuring students, how are they doing now versus how are they doing in March? If we're looking at first grade and sight words, how many do they know now? How many do they know in March? If we're looking at math and science, maybe we're looking at unit or chapter tests. Those series of summatives leading up to as we go. In art, it might be a rubric, right? And so my average score in the first time we did a project was a 2. My goal was to see our students increase that by 25% or something like that. But every one of you have academic standards in your classroom. That's what you're teaching to. How are your students mastering those standards? That's really what we want to know. And are they getting better at mastering? One goal, multiple ways of researching that goal, one outcome. Capiche? You with me so far?
And then this guy right here, where the only date that's going to be available is that September 28th.
There's 2 dates there, right? Oh,
Yeah,
no,
that's 17th.
No, that's what you're at right now. We'll give you, yeah.
This is going to be considered already done.
Yeah, you already got it. Right. We have another one coming in that's probably not on the calendar, but we'll get there.
We're good.
All right. So here's the ILP directions. And the mask is a good thing. I used to lick my fingers while I was doing some of the pages. Here are the CSTP placemats on page 3. Would you do me a favor and take out your red teacher pen? I'm just kidding. And cross out number 6. Just put an X through number 6. Your teachers are not writing to standard 6 because this whole program is professional development, and that's what that standard is about. Okay. Page 4 is the rubric, so you know what our expectations are. Those growth words that we'll talk a lot about in ILP training, and then I wanted to include a sample ILP. So this is what it looks like when we're all said and done. Okay? You can see, again, selfie. My goal is to improve my ability to prompt students to ask critical questions and consider diverse perspectives about the subject matter. Okay? That's the ILP. Fine. Your teachers are going to be completing a journal 6 times this year. And it what, Brittany, about 2 hours a month to put together?
For journals? I don't remember. It was a lot of like whenever we would meet, a topic would come up and I'd write the topic down, and then I'd go into the Google Doc later and I would reflect on like what did I get out of that topic conversation.
Yeah. And we've even had induction candidates actually typing, or better, the mentors were typing while the induction candidates were talking. So what we've done is created a set of questions for you to go through every month. And I included those tonight. The actual ones that you're going to be working with, and it starts with that collab log. You'll turn to page 2 and 3. So it starts with the kind of awkwardly stapled. Yes. So if you turn the page, I have in our Google Classroom questions for SPED teachers and questions for Gen Ed teachers. You don't know if you're getting a Gen Ed or a SPED. You think it's a Gen Ed history?
I think it's Gen Ed.
So if you'll turn 2 more pages, it says Gen Ed Mentor Reflective Questions Guide, August and September. And I will tell you that this is the most up-to-date one. It's the one I just posted in the classroom, and I printed it for you to take home. Okay? You're giving support on 2 official levels and 1 unofficial level. The 2 official levels are just in time. And so it's that new work from Chowchilla. It's How Do I? Have you heard of How Do I? How do I get into Aries? How do I order lunch? How do I talk to a parent that doesn't speak my language? How do I, right? They have lots of how do I questions. Or even where do I park? One of the things we want you to talk about is kind of silly. I was telling your brand new teachers to go to the dentist before the end of December. What? Delta Dental has that tiered program. The first year they cover 75. Well, the calendar turns in January. That now is year 2. Now they got 85, right? So tell them we want you to, we'll put a prompt in there talking to them. We might even talk about looking at retirement and what is the name of the dumb thing called?
SGRS?
It's not a 401k, but a
403.
thank you, right? 403 something. Putting some money aside, even if you could take $100 out of the check right now, they wouldn't even miss it, but that would be a lot of money later on. What do we do at Foggy Day schedule? We've had new teachers show up at 10 o'clock because they thought, hey, delayed some time.
Foggy Day schedule.
What do I do? I had one teacher come to the mentor, my electricity was turned off, I don't know what to do. Well, honey, let's call PG&E, find out what's going on. Hey, we've been sending you bills for the last 3 months, but we haven't got any payment, and we gave you a 40-hour notice and no response, so we had to shut it off. I haven't gotten any bills, what are you talking about? Gave him the address and box number 432. Box? What box? She didn't realize the wall that she was driving past was her mailbox. And it was stuffed full of...
That thing called mail.
Lived with mom and dad your whole life, and the mailbox is right there on the front porch, right? And it was the first time that she, right? So that could be a just-in-time kind of a, how do I take care of this? All right. And then we have the long-term analysis questions. And in this case, it's not in blue because I couldn't print in color. But the first 2 questions are in blue. And when you see a blue question, they must be asked and answered. And they need to respond to that on their journal. And these come directly from the CSTPs. And then once again, we're trying to make it germane to the month, right? So how is your IC building on student comments and questions during a lesson to extend their understanding? In what ways is your IC building trust with students and fostering relationships so that students can thrive academically? Those 2 questions this month must be asked and answered. The rest of the list is optional suggestions. They are not requirements. First of all, we're writing this for a K-12 setting. Not everything's going to apply to you. But we're going to remind you in October, what's your Halloween policy? Can kids wear costumes to school? How do you include kids that don't celebrate the holidays, right? How do we deal with Christmas? What is, all of those kind of things that are going on. I'm sure in art, that's a big, huge thing, right? Because art really is a reflection of our culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a whole bunch of questions that we can ask and discuss. How do we be inclusive and how do we look at through those kind of things? So we try really hard to make each month important for that month. You're going to put, in a moment I'm going to talk about a collaboration log, and all you're going to put down are bullet points of introducing the topics that you discussed. Talked about room setup, talked about management, talked about teams, did my observation. That's all you're going to write. The details will be in the journals. We're going to ask them to write complete sentences in their journals, and they're during a journal that's due in September, October, November, January, February, and March. There are 6 journals, and I think I have it on that scope and sequence, right? Yeah. So those are in the 6 journals. And they're always going to be due on the last Friday-ish. I might say, like, for instance, I think our first journal is actually going to be due October 1st, because that's a Friday. And I don't know if it's trickery on my part or manipulation or what you want to call it, but I don't have it due on Sunday night. because I don't want them working on it over the weekend, right? I have it due on Friday night, knowing that if they're gonna be late, then that's on them, and they probably will have to work on it on the weekend, but I don't want them to do it on the weekend. That's why I deliberately did not put the due date on Sunday night, okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned a collaboration log where we put bullet
We'll
points.
we'll get there.
Okay, sorry.
So these journal entries are gonna be something that we talk about at the next meeting when we're all together, what they should look
When we
like.
come to the next training, yes.
Okay, cause I just look at these, I'm like, wow, this is a lot of random topics, and they're,
So you can kind of see that what they were talking, in fact, it's a November journal, but
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
And the
this one's
evidence that they're
November.
gathering, and I think that came from Golden Valley.
Oh, I didn't see, a journal entry?
Yeah, that journal's from
Oh,
a
this one.
teacher, the actual
wait.
journal. Oh, you're not looking at the sample.
No, I'm just looking at these topics. There's
Those
one-
things are things, right, and you don't have to hit every question. You don't have to cover everything in there. There's suggestions for you to think about, what do I want to talk about today when we meet? Make sense?
Did you want to give us an example? I haven't been able to locate an example of the journal. I wasn't sure.
The journal sample is back in the ILP
okay.
directions.
It's part of the ILP, the journals.
Yeah.
Oh, sample induction
Page
candidate.
11,
I see
starting
it.
with the
Yeah,
rubric.
okay,
Thank you.
cool.
And going to 12, 15, and I thought that's what you were referencing, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
there it is. Okay.
Yes, the reflective questions are kind of like, oh my gosh, it's all over the map. But you have, in September and August, 5 to 6 meetings, right? There's not enough, it's just to give you some ideas of topics to
Oh,
discuss.
so we're meeting weekly, and so they're talking, okay, so they're just, this is what we're talking about today, and then they just journal a short paragraph about what we discussed. I
Correct.
see. So it's not, it's like everything that you talked about in August and September.
Yes. So, that's a good reminder. One of the expectations is that you're going to meet with your induction candidate 1 hour a week outside of your duty day. We found that trying to meet during your prep can get difficult if all of a sudden somebody says, hey, I need you to sub during your prep or your pull-out or your special. Oh, by the way, the principal wants to meet with you today during your prep. And you meet usually Thursday afternoon, and all of a sudden that meeting's interrupted. And now that meeting doesn't happen this week. So, oh, well, we'll just meet next week. Well, I don't want that to happen, okay? So you can meet before school, you can meet after school, you can meet in the evenings, you can meet on the weekends. The second part about that is I'd like you to meet face-to-face. Face-to-face. There's something that's more authentic about a conversation when you're sitting in each other's 6 feet of social, whatever you want to call it, domain. But think about it, you just went through all the camera stuff. Can you hide your emotions when you're on camera? Kind of fake it, right? I mean, we could be wearing a tie and boxer shorts and you wouldn't know.
And I did.
TMI.
Yeah. You opened the door, I just busted through.
But my point though is that we can hide the way we're feeling, we can kind of, I'm doing okay, and not really pick up on that. But when you're face to face, it's harder to hide that. And we want our teachers to have authentic conversations with you. Having said that, Plan B, when you can't meet face to face, you can use FaceTime or Zoom. That's okay. But I want it to be your backup plan, not your go-to plan. Okay? We've had houses burn in the forest fires last year up in the mountains and Bass Lake, and smoke problems and school cancellation problems, and I don't know what else. I mean, there's just a lot of things going on, a lot of challenges. So we're going to retain that flexibility of meeting in person by using Zoom or Facebook. Speaking of which, last year we had great success using video recordings for observation. That worked out really well. Recording our beginning teachers and then letting you watch them on your own time, maybe with a little adult beverage or something at 9 o'clock at night as you observe their classroom. But they're not using Zoom this year, so if they're going to use a camera, that's fine, to record the class and then share that with you. Because you couldn't get over there, or you're having a hard time getting away, sub shortages all over the place, right? That's actually very acceptable. In fact, we found last year more observations occurred last year because of recording than we would have if we had actually tried to go in person. iPhones, iPads, video cameras all work great at making a recording that a teacher can use to share with you. And as long as we're not distributing them, not posting them and putting them on the web, it doesn't violate anybody's laws. So you're okay with that. Okay. They're doing 6 journals. Their journal looks something like this. We edited them a little bit. It's a Google Doc. It actually expands. They're going to be providing evidence, as you can see in our sample, of how what they're learning and applying in the classroom is affecting student outcomes. And they're going to be providing this evidence every month. I would like, if you can, to read the journals before they turn them in. For 2 reasons. One, it gives you an understanding of what they're thinking about. And 2, it's a sense of accountability. And they get the, oh crap, I got to get my journal done because my mentor's going to want to see it and it's due at the end of the month. The biggest irony I have discovered in this job is that teachers who demand things are turned in on time do not turn things in on time. So, if this becomes an issue, I will email your induction camp. First, I'll tell you that I have experienced mentors and that read all of my stuff for me. There's too many people for me to keep track of. So we assign them about 25 people, and they read the same people every month. Okay? If there's an issue, bring it to my attention. Sometimes I overrule my mentors, my readers, and sometimes I tell the induction candidate, no, this is our expectation, please make sure you meet it. Okay? If it starts coming in late, I'm going to email. This is after my reader has already emailed your induction candidate, hey, such and such is late. Then they're going to bring it to my attention, and I'm going to say to you and to your induction candidate, hey, this is late, we need to get it turned in. And if it becomes really chronic, I'm going to email the administrator. Okay? We want teachers making reflections in real time. And if they're taking December to do a whole semester's worth of work, you're not getting a whole lot out of it. You're checking the boxes.
Nothing out of it. I will tell you that.
And the reality is that you can circumvent all the things that we have tried to design. And check the box and turn it in and get your credential and move on. But my challenge to your teachers is there anyone in this room that doesn't feel like they have something to do to improve on in their teaching practice? I mean, right? These people are coming to us with 0, 1, I had 2 weeks worth of experience. And oh no, I've got it down, man. I'm the master teacher. Next year I'm going to be principal, right? Nobody should be in that boat. And yet we still have teachers that are overconfident and think they know it all. And they don't even know what questions to ask, let alone the answers. And then reality sets in. We're trying to set up a program in which they're really being reflective every month and making the adjustments that need to be made in real time and not thinking about in February, boy, I wish I would have done this in October. Okay? That's why we're insisting on things be turned in on time. All right. At the end of the year, in May, our teachers come back here. So they have 4 meetings. Induction orientation for first-year teachers. ILP and journal writing. Presentation training in February. And the presentation. That's it. We didn't want to put a whole bunch of meetings on our brand new teachers on top of all the other things that brand new teachers are going through, including just adjusting to life or starting a family or whatever is going on in their lives. Right? They're going to come here, and we use some of the other classrooms around, and have our teachers present their evidence of growth. And this year we're looking at making it an interview instead of here's my slides and here's my information. And we're debating whether it should be a list of possible questions or here are the exact questions. And I have an advisory committee that's helping me figure that out. And we're going to spend about 20 minutes with each teacher. Well, I need to form those panels. We have 4 weeks exit activity. I need you to come to 2 of those nights. So you plan on, you won't have to do any mentoring in May. Everything will be done, but your time that we're compensating you for with your stipend will be coming to 2 panels. You will not review anybody that you know. And you probably won't sit with anybody that you know. But you'll get a lot out of it. One of the things you might go is, wow, that's amazing. I wish they worked at my site. And the other thought you'll have is, oh, thank the Lord she was not mine. You walk away kind of with those 2 thoughts. But you'll actually learn a lot about our whole process, about teacher growth. It's very insightful. And so it's not boring. But it is, I know, 2 nights in the month of May that we're going to ask you to come to. Okay. And that's so far in the distant future that I'm not even going to tell you more about that. Our expectations for you, 1 hour a week, the collaboration log, which I believe I gave you a sample of. If you go back to those reflective questions, it was that first page that was kind of awkward. All right. So you're going to type on this, but then you're going to print it and sign it with a real ink pen. Your induction candidate is going to sign it, and then you're going to old school it. You're going to fax it to me.
Fax it?
Or you're going to scan it and email it.
Okay.
I'm like, you have the fax machine.
There is a fax machine in
Fax
front of
machine?
us.
At our office, we don't have a fax machine.
We have.
Oh, you do?
Was that
I'll come over
true?
to your site.
I know, but they really work well for us. Because otherwise you have to open each email,
We have to
print,
go to
and this,
church.
right? If it's fast, boom, got it. And Jessica Salazar is the one that's going to read these. Unless there's an issue. I won't even see them. Okay? But, MUSD, this is your timesheet. This is how we pay you. You're going to get a stipend of $225 a month. You won't see the first one until the end of October, but it'll be double. Okay? For each candidate that you mentor. Your site or district should be negotiating with you and tell you that you're getting a stipend, and I don't know how much it is or how often they're going to pay you, but there should be a stipend. Okay? Here's what I want you to do. Type name on the top. Where it says date and hours, I want you to tell me the date that you met and the time that you met for. It's an hour minimum. You may find that you're meeting more than an hour. Okay? There's more than 4 boxes here because August and September, December and January are combined months. Okay? For each candidate that you have, you'll need to fill one of these out. Where it says total MIC hours, I want you to add the time that you were in mentoring meetings plus any MIC training that I brought you to and put it in that box. So tonight's 2 hours plus the MIC training would go in that box. Tonight's meeting, the trainings, plus the hours that you're meeting goes in the box that says total
The
MIC
weekly
hours.
meetings.
Yeah, so the weekly meetings plus the training, total MIC hours. And your induction candidate may have something that's different. They may only have the 4 times you met that month. Okay? If they're brand new, they've come to induction orientation and they got 2 hours already of training, they would have the same 2 hours that you're having for new mentor training. The next one, next to that, is any professional development that you're involved with that has absolutely nothing to do with me. We just want to know what hours those are. You don't have to tell me what the training is, just jot down the hours. So if you went to Google Classroom training for 6 hours on Saturday, just write 6 hours. The reason is that at the end of the year, Fresno State, Fresno Pacific are going to offer you 3 units for $300 for your participation as a mentor teacher, but they're going to ask you for 45 hours of mentoring and professional development. And this is where all of that is tracked both for you and your induction candidate. Furthermore, We're a credentialing program, and we get audited, and we're having a site visit in May of 2023, and we need to demonstrate that we're keeping track of all that with our collaboration models. So it's very important. Down below, each of those boxes that you're seeing down below, you are going to put bullet points. The candidates are using complete sentences on their journals. So in a way, you're introducing what they're discussing. We met on August 18th and discussed back to school. When you observe your teacher, you'll say, it says MT observations, observe teacher on October 1st and again on October 20th. Actually, if you do one every other month, that ends up being 2 times a semester. So if you do one in September and November and February or January and March, it's about every other month. Again, all you're doing, I don't need any other documentation. All you do is say observe teacher on blah blah blah. Candidates' progress towards the goals. What did you talk about? Key points of conversation, anything that's highlighted. Most people leave that one blank. And what are you planning next month? Some ideas. Questions about that?
You said MC observation reflection, we're just writing the day we observed that day.
That's correct. Yeah, the details are in the journal. Remember what I said about we got rid of 75% of our documents, right? This is all you really have to worry about is this collab law. Your candidates have the pre-ILP stuff, their ILP, and the journals. But we got rid of a whole bunch, because look at these binders. This is what we used to use. That was 1 year's worth of work, 3-inch binder. All that's gone. Any questions about the collaboration law?
Each time we meet with them,
Okay. You're writing a little, yeah, a little injuries.
each time.
Yeah, and then you turn these in once a month. Yeah, they do at the end of each month. All right, confidential conversations. 2 things that we want you to really understand is, well, at all times you're now entering into a confidential conversation with your induction candidate. So what they tell you, you keep to yourself. Even if you have, oh my gosh, there's major concerns, I need to go talk to my administrator. You can't. Ed Code prohibits you from contributing to the evaluation of another teacher. Only administrators can evaluate teachers. So when you run to your administrator and snitch on them, you're going to end up in ditches, because right, snitches end up in ditches.
It got real right now.
It's a trust factor, right? And if your induction candidate doesn't believe that you're trustworthy, they're not going to tell you the things that they're struggling with, right? Second thing is we don't want you to gossip about your induction candidate. And that actually happens more than the first. In the first case, by the way, your administrator can come to you. I've invited them to talk to you. And they may say something like, can you work with them on... Sure, I can do that. What they can't do is 2 weeks later and say, how's it going with... Because now you're contributing to the evaluation. They have to go out and find out for themselves. They can direct you and say, hey, we noticed that they're struggling with embedding EL standards into their lesson plans, and that's really been a site and district initiative. Can you help them write those and make sure that they're coming out in their lesson plans? We want to make sure that we're really meeting our kiddos' needs. Sure, we can do that. They can't come back and say, how are they doing with the EL standards? And that's an evaluation question. We also don't want you to go into the lunchroom and go, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe my brand new teacher. I walked in, the kids were up on their desk, there were pencils in the roof. I didn't understand what was going on. It was crazy. If they hear about that, once again, trust is broken. And when that genie comes out of the bottle, it's almost impossible to put it back together again. And I've instructed your candidates to come and find me immediately when they have a problem with you. Right? And my strategy is first to come and talk and see if we can fix. Sometimes it's just miscommunication. Sometimes life's happened and you weren't able to meet with your candidate for a couple of weeks because you got a crisis going on at home. We can fix all that. But if you break the trust, it's almost impossible to put that back together again. And in that case, I have to go find another mentor. Okay? I love being 56. I don't know why you all ever, except for some of the medical issues that are now becoming, I got arthritis and whatever. I got Dupuytren's syndrome, I guess. Okay, I'm going to have Pocan in a couple of years if I don't get the surgery. But I'm much more confident who I am. I like who I am. I learned to have thick skin, and I've unfortunately learned how to fire people. And it goes with the territory of wearing the badge of leader. And if you break the trust with your candidate, I won't have a choice. I have to find somebody they can trust and move forward. So that we don't have, what the heck, where are you? I don't understand. And I've told them not to come to me in May. Well, Mick would have been better if, why didn't you tell me that in November when we could have fixed it? You weren't meeting, what the heck? I'll find someone that will meet with you. That should never have happened. Where you only met with your mentor twice a year. That should never have happened. It should have been every week. All right, we're going to ask you to come to training. I gave you the calendar. We're going to put all of this on OMS and send you emails about that so that you can use OMS to sign up because we want you here in live in person. I hope and pray. There's a cynical part of me that believes that once the recall's over, we're going back to lockdown, but I don't know. I don't think Governor Newsom can do that now, but he might be able to do it after he's not recalled. So we'll see what happens.
I'm putting good feelers into the universe. I don't want that.
Right? So I don't want it to happen either. All right. I told you about the MIC panel. I told you should be getting a stipend. You should have, I think I passed them out, an MOU. This is a contract. Meet with your candidate 1 hour a week. Become knowledgeable about the CSTPs. Conduct a minimum of 4 observations, 2 per semester. Submit collab logs. Complete any evaluations I might send you. Contact me if there's any issues. And come to training. Please print, sign, and date. And if you're married, I know you forgot what a date is, but go ahead. And sign away. Did you find it?
Yeah. Last one always.
Of course. How painful was the tattoo?
It always hurt, but that's part of the fun of it.
Fun?
My students ask me that question a lot, and that's kind of what I tell them, and that's usually their response too. They always have lots of questions.
It's not for me.
I got plans for more, always.
That's what they say is once you start, you don't want to stop. You know?
Always ideas.
Can I get a copy of that?
Sure.
Get a copy of the minutes.
You want to sign that one too? Or we can sign it for you?
One suit today, got up. I didn't solve it. If you have done this one, you have this. Please stand up. I'd say row before you go. One student did it. He's like, you are risking it as a liar.
Alright, now, one last piece of confusing information. So apparently, last year during the COVID shutdown, one of our teachers, it happened to a couple of teachers, is they put out the join code for the Google Classroom to the kids, and the kids decided to be smart alecky and they tweeted it. And then they ended up with 40 or 50 people in their classroom that they had no idea and they had to go. So my IT department, in their infinite wisdom, locked it down and made it like you have to have an MUSD address to get into Google Classroom. Well, I call IT and say, well, that's not going to work for me because I've got all my county people. Well, I will open up their domains. What are their domains? Open it up. Doesn't work. And I got frustrated with them and I gave up. And so I created a business called Madera Induction Consortium and a Google Classroom under that. But it wasn't until I got far along the process where I realized, though, that if you used your district email to try to, it won't work. So, Madera Unified people, you will be invited to a Google Classroom in a moment. Use your district email. My county peeps, I'm going to invite you to a different Google Classroom, but it has the same documents in it, but you have to use a personal Gmail. And if you don't have a personal Gmail, go get one, they're free. And I'm going to spend this whole year, right? I'm going to spend this whole year looking at and trying to figure out how to create my own educational institution in which I can invite everybody to be a part of it. But in the meantime, it just doubled my work.
They won't let you use the MUSD. They won't let you on the business one?
No.
What if you got a county one?
It's still all of the districts and
That's what I mean,
private
like,
schools and
all the
charter
districts
schools.
could be,
Well,
because
I'm
they're
gonna
all
look into,
county.
what I wanna do is go create my own educational domain where I have total control of who I say can come in and can't,
Yeah.
I know, right?
even if I have to pay for
Keep
it.
saying that.
But I couldn't do that in 6 hours,
Yeah.
right, when I was trying to figure this all out. So,
Third, that's exactly what
here is the Mentor Classroom. And it's kind of cool that they made this up. You get an arbitrary joint code and it's 6 mix FM, FYM. Looks like it's interesting. I don't know how they did that, but 6 mix FYM. And the other one, I don't even know
Oh,
what
I
to say.
can't sign in on the internet
Sign in.
here. Do it.
So you have to use a personal Gmail. And are you using a hotspot
Can
on
I
your
use
phone?
Madera USD guest, or is that not gonna work?
That's another
For
issue.
Wi-Fi,
Guess what?
I can't use that.
So I'm gonna have to have an argument with my IT people about that as well, because they won't give me a guest pass. They want to give each and every one of you a
Our
pass.
own.
And I'm like, I have 120 people. Are you serious?
So I've gotta use the hotspot on my phone.
Yeah, or just use your phone.
I don't have Google Classroom
Go to
set up on my
Google.
phone.
Go to Google.
I know that I can't.
Yeah. And use the app.
It's just not done right now.
You don't have to put the, no, you don't have to put the app on your
I
phone.
know, right?
No.
I can't.
You don't have to use the app on your phone, but if you just go to Google Chrome and go to the
If
Google
you-
website
You have
Oh.
and then go to